So I saw this problem on Instagram earlier today, and it just kind of inspired me to want to make a quick video about how to logically work through a problem like this rather than following a process or following rules and trying to remember things like that. Um, so if I don't know if you are familiar with the fact that the absolute value of anything is just how many steps from zero you are. So if you have a zero here, and we had the absolute value, say, of -2, we would just be asking how far from zero is -2. So 2 steps from zero. If we turn that into a +2, we'd just be asking how many steps is +2 from zero. So it's just 1, 2. So it doesn't matter if you have a negative in here like that or a positive in here like that. They're both 2 steps from zero. So -2 is 2 steps from zero, +2 is 2 steps from zero. So that's what absolute value signs tell us, is how far from zero, how many steps from zero are we? So that means that we've got these two absolute value signs here. And it's just asking us how far from zero is all of the scary stuff here. How many steps from zero is all that? And over here, it tells us that it's 5 steps from zero. So we just have to figure out what will make this true. Okay? So if we think about it logically, we have a -2 here. And actually, I'll keep the absolute value signs here. So we have a -2 here. And on the other side, we have equals 5, which means we're looking for 5 steps from zero. So we're either looking to go 5 steps that way from zero or 5 steps this way from zero. So we're either going in the positive direction or the negative direction. Okay? So that's what we're looking for. Well, let's see, what could we add to -2 to be 5 steps in the negative direction? Well, I know that I can add a -3 to that. And then that's the same as being 5 steps in the negative direction. Okay? So that means that all of what's in the green here is going to be, all of what's in the green here is going to be equal to -3. So then let's follow that down. We also could be 5 steps in the positive direction. So what could make that 5 steps in the positive direction? Well, if I add +7 to it. So if you're not familiar with zero pairs, if I give you $2 and I take away $2, you don't have any money. You have $0. So this +2 -2 right here is just a zero pair. And then you can see what's sticking out is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense to you. All right. Now, the last bit of this is that what we're being told then is that the absolute value, the stuff in the green, let's put that a little bit more like this, the stuff in the green, the x minus the 4 and the x minus the 4 is equal to -3, right? All of it is equal to -3, and or all of it is equal to 7. Okay, let's put an equal sign here too. Now, when we count steps from zero, say we are 3 steps from zero, we could be going this way or that way, right? Or maybe put that up here. Well, we don't count. We don't say we go -1 step, -2 step, -3 step, -1 step, -2 step, -3 step. We say we go 1, 2, 3 steps from zero, or 1, 2, 3 steps from zero. So there's no value of x that can make this statement here true. So this, we don't look at it. We ignore it. So we ignore this. okay? Because there's no value of x that can make us have negative 3 steps from 0, okay? But we can have a value of x that makes us have 7 steps from 0. So let's do that. We can either go 7 steps that way or 7 steps this way. Okay, well, if I have a negative 4 in here already, right, and I add a negative 3 to it, that is negative 7, and that negative 7 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 steps from 0, right? So what will make this true is for the x to be negative 3. Okay, so we can say x equals negative 3. Nope, I did that in the wrong one. Can't do that. Can't do that. That should be down here. Because remember what I said? This one we have to ignore. I put that, being a little lazy tonight here, not looking what I'm doing. So negative 3 and negative 4 is the same as negative 7, and that is 7 steps from 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the thing that will make this true, 7 steps from 0, is negative 3. That's 1. But there's another one that we can do here. And so I'll just put those there so you can see that. And again, this we have to ignore. That's part of this here because we don't count in negative steps. We count in positive steps. And no value of x is going to give us a negative 3 outside here because absolute value is how many steps, and we count steps in positive. We don't count them in negatives. Okay, so that's why we ignore that one. But there's one more here that would make this 7 steps from 0 in the positive direction, and that is if we added 11 to it. Can you see how 11, put that up here, 11 take away 4 is the same as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And again, if I give you $4, or let's do it backwards this time. If you owe $4 and you pay that $4, do you have any money left? No, you have nothing left. So that right there is a 0 pair. What's sticking out is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so if I go over here and I have 11 and I take 4 away from it, can you see that I have 7? And that's 7 steps in the 7 steps in the positive direction. This here is 7 steps. Let me put that up top there actually. 7 steps in the negative direction. Okay, so this one here, we have an x that is equal to 11 as well. So we have an x that is equal to negative 3, because negative 3 and negative 4 is negative 7, and that's 7 steps from 0. We have an x that is 11. 11 take away 4. 11 take away 4 is 7, and 7 is 7 steps from 0. So we have 2 things that make this work. Okay, again, we cannot use this one here because we don't count steps in negative. We don't count steps in negative. When we're measuring things, we usually measure them in positive. Now that's not always true because sometimes we've got temperature, it's 7 below, right? Things like that. Sometimes I like to say I've walked 3 steps backwards and I might use a negative to show that. But for absolute value, we don't. For absolute value, we count our steps in positives. So we cannot do this. We will never have negative steps from 0. We might be in the negative direction, but we'll never have negative steps from 0 when we're talking about the absolute value. I do like to say that there are some exceptions to things because there's some fun things that you can play around with. But just for the sake of this, we don't count our steps in the negative, so that's why we can ignore this. If you didn't ignore this, you'd have 2 other numbers that popped out but wouldn't work in here. Okay, but these 2 numbers work in here. Okay, so if I take all of this and get rid of it, and I know that my x is negative 3 or 11, right? Well, let's just do the negative 3 first. The absolute value of negative 3 and negative 4 is 7, right? The absolute value of 7 and negative 2 is 5. That works, okay? Let's do the 11. The absolute value of 11 and negative 4 is 7, okay? The absolute value of 7 and negative 2 is 5. So we can see that these two things are what our x is. X is either 11 or x is -3. I just wanted you to know that you can logically think this through rather than following a process. And then kids can actually probably just do it in their head, just knowing, okay, well, I need to have this all equal 5, right? So I need some absolute value here to pop out as 7, because 7 take away 2, right, is 5. Or I need that to pop out as -3, because -3 take away 2 is 5. But then you got to just kind of logically work that through too, right? So you can't have this as all of this equaling -3 because you don't count in positive or negative steps, but you can have it count as 7, right? And then what you need to do is say, okay, well, what x will make this 7 in here? Well, the absolute value of it anyway. So we need either a -7 or a +7 in here. So -3 and -4 makes that, right? And then also 11, right? 11 and -4 makes that 7, right? And so those are the two things that we can actually pop in here for x, -3 and 11. And then logically, we've got 7 popping out of here, and then 7 take away 2, right, is 5. Well, the absolute value of that is 5. It's 5 steps from 7. Okay, so the things that will make this equal to 7 here is going to be x is 11 and x is -3. Okay, we can't have all of this equal -3 because we can't count that. We can't count our steps from 0 and negatives, even though we might be going negative, and we don't count our steps negative. And so that's why there's two things that don't work out and two things that do work out. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Anyways, you can always ask questions if it doesn't. I'm going to stop there.